Hi there. I am David Keyes. I am the author of A Nightmare in Oz, the book that you're covering on today's live stream for Down the Yellow Brick Pod. I am super excited to hear what you have to say, and I'm really excited that I am here. Special thanks to Tara and Emily for covering this. I have been a fan of the Down the Yellow Brick Pod for most of the time that it's been on, and I've quietly hoped that at some point they might talk about one of my books, because I've written 3 Oz books now. And the fact that they're doing this and it coincides when I become one of their Patreons is an absolute thrill. I cannot wait to hear what you all have to say about it. So, this is A Nightmare in Oz, and it was written in 2019 and it was published in 2020. It was my first fiction release. Of the 3 Oz books that I have written in the last 3 years, it is still my favorite. The philosophy that I adopted going into it is similar to the philosophy that Baum used himself when he wrote the first Wizard of Oz, which was he felt that the children of the turn of the century needed a fairy tale that spoke to them in their time. Well, you take that philosophy nowadays, children are a lot more sophisticated, I think, in the 21st century because they have to be, because technology and social media leaves them plugged in every facet. There's no unplugging, there's no escaping from what's going on in the real world. And there's a lot of terrible things going on in the real world. So the story needed to have a harder edge, I felt, than the original series. Not too hard, of course. It's not really horrific or anything like that, but it is a lot more young adult than children's based. Um, I always loved the Oz series. Ever since I was a kid, it was my first love. So, in my heart of hearts, I knew that eventually I would write one. I just didn't know it would take this shape or go this direction. But it did, and I'm very happy with the results. Um, the principle of it is the same characters. It exists in lineage with the original series, and it's about the same characters 100 years after the fact facing new dangers that are creeping into Oz, as if the safety of their prosperity is starting to crumble and very real world oriented terrors are starting to afflict them. And that is the principle of not just this book, but the other two. But again, this one is my favorite of the 3 because I feel pretty in tune with the story. I love the mystery of it, I love the twist, and I love how it evolves and what it says, not just about the characters. It says something new, but at the same time, it also feels very, very in line with the philosophies of the original writing. Um, when it comes to things that I'm curious to hear about from readers, I always want to know, obviously, what they felt about the book, how they perceived its themes. Did I do justice to those original characters? Because there's a lot of the original ones in it. Did they like the new ones that are in the book? Do they like the little nods to things sort of going on in the periphery of Oz? Because there's references to other events, other characters that are not in the book, but I like to give little nods to little touches of things that I might either develop later or expand on. Um, I'm very curious how people feel about the big twist that happens about halfway in the book about the secret behind the nightmares. The illustrations, obviously, by Jackson Smith are fantastic, and I'm curious to see how people feel about those. Um, More so than anything, I'm also very curious to see what people think of the girls and how they learn to approach what they face. Because at the heart of it, Oz is about the leadership and guidance of women, women with very motherly instincts. And what do mothers, what do girls, compassionate people face when they're dealing with things that threaten to disrupt their security? So I'm very curious to see what you guys are going to think about it all. So I look forward to listening.